May we live long and share the beauty of the moon together, even if we are hundreds of miles apart, says the romantic Chinese poem. As the round shape symbolizes unity in the Chinese culture, the full moon stirs these ancient sentiments, which are embodied in the way the Mid-Autumn Festival is celebrated since the early Tang Dynasty. In the past, on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month every year, families would get together to make offerings of wine and fruits such as pears, grapes, and of course mooncakes to the heavens, to express gratitude for a bumper harvest as well as enjoy a reunion with relatives who live far away. To many, this is considered to be one of the most important festivals of the year.
Hi everyone. I would like to introduce a very interesting and important festival, Mid-Autumn Festival. First, I would like to talk about the name of the festival. According to lunar calendar, the 15th day of the 8th month is the exact midst of autumn. So it's called the Mid-Autumn Festival. As the round shape of the full moon symbolizes unity in our culture, the full moon stirs the ancient sentiments which are embodied in the way the Mid-Autumn Festival is celebrated since early time. To many, this is considered to be one of the most important festivals of the year. Nowadays, highly urbanized place still celebrates this holiday, and thus so in style and with its characteristic penchant for fusing tradition with innovation. Now, I would like to talk about the celebration of Mid-Autumn Festival. In the past, on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month every year, families would get together to make offering of wine, spherical fruits such as pears, grapes, pomegranates, and of course mooncakes to the heavens. To express gratitude for a bumper harvest as well as enjoy a reunion with relatives who live far away. Nowadays, the Mid-Autumn Festival is an evening celebration when families gather together to light lanterns, eat mooncakes, and appreciate the round moon. When night falls, the land is bathed in silver moonlight. Families set up tables in their courtyards or sit together on their balconies, chatting and sharing offering to the moon. Together, they enjoy the enchanting spell of night. Naturally, they are reminded of beautiful legends about the moon. On that night, the moon appears to be at its roundest and brightest. The full moon is a symbol for family reunion, which is why that day is also known as the Festival of Reunion. This holiday is celebrated in Taiwan, and it is also a public holiday. Outdoor barbecues have become a popular affair for friends and family to gather and enjoy each other's company. As of 2011, Taipei City designated 11 riverside parks to accommodate outdoor barbecues for the public. Now, I'll tell you this special delicacy, mooncake. Mooncake is a type of traditional pastry eaten on Mid-Autumn Festival, which is 15th August of the lunar calendar. This delicacy is essential to the festival and are offered as gifts between relatives and friends. Traditional mooncakes are quite big, approximately 3 to 4 inches in diameter, and typically have a sweet, thick filling made from lotus seed paste and salted duck eggs or mixed nuts and seeds. However, these classic treats have lost popularity in recent years. Due to increasing health concerns and change in taste of the younger generation, this custard mooncake is a modernized, high-end version of the traditional pastry. Making mooncake is quite time-consuming, but it is not difficult at all, and I'm sure even first-timers will be able to make them successfully. If you can't find mooncakes mold where you live, just mold them into round, flat pieces like a scone or any shape you like. They might not look as pretty, but I promise they'll taste just as good. I'm going to show you a video about mooncakes.
Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make custard mooncakes. Mooncakes are a type of traditional Chinese food eaten once a year on Mid-Autumn Festival, and this one with a custard filling is a more modernized version of it. We'll start off by making the custard filling. You'll need cake flour, sugar, custard powder, and milk powder, coconut milk and evaporated milk, eggs, unsalted butter, salted egg yolks, and condensed milk. Now combine your dry ingredients, eggs, and condensed milk. Now mix in your coconut milk and evaporated milk. If for some reason you can't find one or both of the ingredients, you can substitute with ordinary full-fat milk. After you've mixed those in, add in our last ingredient, which is the unsalted butter. Your butter will create a lot of lumps in your mixture, but that's okay because we're going to cook this, and when it's heated, the butter will melt and incorporate with the rest of the mixture. After that, pour it into a heat-proof dish. Now steam the mixture for 15 to 20 minutes using low heat. When that's done, mash your salted egg yolks and mix it into your custard to make our custard filling. Now wrap the filling in cling wrap and refrigerate for at least 2 hours or preferably overnight. And now we'll make our pastry crust. You'll need cake flour, unsalted butter, evaporated milk, eggs, and sugar. Start off by whisking your butter and sugar together until they are creamy and become a light yellow color. Next, add in your eggs and mix until incorporated. Add in a tablespoon or 2 of flour. Mix them together and then add in your evaporated milk. Now add in 1/3 of your dry ingredients and mix together with a whisk, a spatula, or with your hand. Repeat this process twice and you should have added in all your cake flour and your mixture would have formed a dough. When your mixture comes together to form a dough, do not knead it because we're not making bread. Just wrap it in cling wrap and then refrigerate for 30 minutes. While we're refrigerating the pastry crust, remove our custard filling from the fridge and divide it into 19-gram portions. Roll the portions into small little balls. After 30 minutes, remove your pastry dough from the fridge as well and divide it into 30-gram portions. Do the same to the pastry dough as you did with the custard filling and roll them into small little balls. Do the same with your whole pastry dough and then we'll come to the part where we mold the mooncakes and put everything together. Preheat your oven to 230 degrees Celsius and grease or line your baking tray. Start off by placing the pastry dough on your hand and flattening it with your palm. Then you want to gently press on the edges. Next, you want to place the custard filling in the center and then fold up the sides to wrap around the custard ball. Make sure your pastry crust is covering your whole custard filling and then gently roll it into a small ball. Now for this part where we mold the mooncakes, you'll obviously need a mooncake mold. If you can't find one, then just mold them into shapes you like. Dip your mooncake mold in flour and tap to remove the excess. Then lightly dust your dough with flour as well. Remember, a little goes a long way. Do not cover your dough with flour. Then just pop your dough inside the mold, gently press, then place the mold on a flat surface and press firmly on the handle. Lift the mold up and press your handle again to push the mooncake out. And there you have a super pretty mooncake shaped just like the store-bought ones. Finish molding all your other mooncakes and then we'll move on to baking them. Place your mooncakes on a baking tray and then bake in a preheated oven for 6 minutes. Remove them from the oven when time's up. Now brush all the tops and sides of your mooncakes with egg wash, which is 1 egg mixed with 1 tablespoon of water. Just leave it there for 10 minutes until the egg wash is dried. Then brush on the second layer of egg wash. Then pop it back into the oven for 5 minutes. If you want your mooncakes to be extra golden brown, place them on the upper rack of your oven. When they're done, remove from the oven and cool on baking tray for 10 minutes. If you want them to be glossy, you can brush on a layer of syrup now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and will share these mooncakes with your family and friends.
Pomelo. Now I will introduce a delicious fruit, pomelo. Pomelos are often eaten in Asia during the Mid-Autumn Festival or Mooncake Festival. Pomelo is a natural, non-hybrid citrus fruit with the appearance of a big grapefruit, native to South and Southeast Asia. It is usually pale green to yellow when ripe with sweet white flesh. It is a large citrus fruit, 15 to 25 centimeters in diameter, usually weighing 1 to 2 kilograms. The petioles are distinctly winged. The fruit tastes like a sweet, mild grapefruit, though the typical pomelo is much larger than the grapefruit. It has none or very little of the common grapefruit's bitterness. But the enveloping membranous material around the segment is bitter, considered inedible, and thus is usually discarded. The peel is sometimes used to make marmalade, can be candied, and is sometimes dipped in chocolate. I'm going to show you a video about how to peel a pomelo. How to peel a pomelo like an expert. The helpless pomelo awaits its fate. The attacker approaches. Score the 1 centimeter thick skin into 6 segments. Ease your thumb into the top, peel off the skin. The skin can be dried for use in tea, Asian dessert embraced with meat. Its citrus aroma offsets gamey flavors from the meat. Remove and discard the white pith. After handling the bitter white pith, wash your hands before continuing to cut. This is to avoid tainting the fruit with bitterness. Remove embedded pith using V-shaped incisions. Separate the segments, remove membrane and seeds. Big pieces for eating as they are. Or break into little sacks to add to solid. Meanings of the Mid-Autumn Festival. The festival celebrates 3 fundamental concepts which are closely tied to one another: gathering, Thanksgiving, and praying. Gatherings such as family and friends coming together or harvesting crops for the festival. It is a tradition for people to visit and give gifts to friends and relatives during the Mid-Autumn Festival. Thanksgiving, to give thanks for the harvest or for harmonious unions. In Mid-Autumn farmers have just finished gathering their crops and bringing in fruits from the orchards. They are overwhelmed with joy when they have a bumper harvest, and at the same time, they feel quite relaxed after a year of hard work. So the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, the Mid-Autumn Festival has gradually evolved as a widely celebrated festival for ordinary people. Third, praying, asking for conceptual or material satisfaction, such as for babies, a spouse, beauty, longevity, or for good fortune. Traditions and myths surrounding the festival are formed around these three concepts. Although traditions have changed over time due to the changes in technology, science, and economy, culture, and religion. Now, I will tell you courtship and matchmaking on the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's a choice occasion to celebrate marriages. The Mid-Autumn Festival has traditionally been a choice occasion to celebrate marriages. Girls would pray to Chang'e, help fulfill their romantic wishes. Dances are held for young men and women to find partners. For example, young women are encouraged to throw their handkerchiefs to the crowd, and the young man who catches and returns the handkerchief has a chance at romance. Young men and women would make an appointment at a certain place. The young woman would arrive early to overhear remarks made about them by the young men. The young men would praise their lovers in front of their fellows, in which finally the listening women would walk out of the thicket. Pairs of lovers would go off to a quiet place to open their hearts to each other. It is a chance to meet future life companions. Young men and women use the festival as a chance to meet future life companions. Groups would assemble in a courtyard and exchange verses of song while gazing at the moon. Those who performed poorly were sidelined until one young man and one young woman remained, after which they would win prizes. Now, I would like to talk about the alternative names of the Mid-Autumn Festival. The Mid-Autumn Festival is also known by other names, such as Moon Festival or Harvest Moon Festival. Because of the celebration's association with the full moon on this night, as well as the traditions of moon worship and moon gazing, people believe the full moon is a symbol of peace, prosperity, and family reunion. On Mid-Autumn night, the harvest moon is supposed to be the brightest and fullest of the year. So the festival is also known as the Moon Festival. Second, Mooncake Festival. because of the popular tradition of eating mooncakes on this occasion. And third, Reunion Festival, because in olden times, a woman would take the occasion to visit her parents before returning to celebrate with her husband and his parents. These are the alternative names of the Mid-Autumn Festival. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this lesson and learn a lot about the Mid-Autumn Festival. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Scott Zhong. Today, I'd like to discuss the legend of the Han Chinese rebellion movements against the Mongols ruling at the end of the Yuan Dynasty. At the end of the Yuan Dynasty, it is believed that the Han Chinese was planning a rebellion movement against the Yuan's rulers. They were having problems for passing around the messages on the Yuan soldiers' watch. It is believed that Liu Bowen, Zhu Yuanzhang's counselor, came up with a great idea to conceal messages by distributing traditional mooncakes. On Mid-Autumn night, people found pieces of papers with written messages saying, "Get ready to kill the Mongols on the 15th of the 8th lunar month," which is Mid-Autumn night. In the end, the rebellion movement was successful and the Yuan government was overthrown. However, is it true that the inserted messages in the mooncakes worked so well to inform the rebellion movement, which eventually has driven the Mongols out of China and contributed to the establishment of Ming Dynasty in 1368? The possible answer is as follows. The uprising to overthrow the Yuan Dynasty was not caused by a single force of peasants. In fact, Zhu Yuanzhang was elected as the leader of the rebellion movement in 1358. He first gained Nanjing as his base to unite the rebel forces. It was the troops that he sent to attack the Mongols, and the troops were not formed by civilians. The order was given directly by Zhu Yuanzhang from Nanjing, not even under Mongols' control. So, looks like the key to overthrow the Yuan Dynasty in 1368 was not simply the messages hidden in mooncakes. And if it's just a story, what does the story possibly reflect? The story probably refers to Han Chinese perception against the Yuan's ruling. And whoever came up with the story would definitely like to inspire Han Chinese to stand up and fight against the Mongols. Most important of all, the story somehow contributed to the establishment of the Ming Dynasty. If you have any questions, please refer to the websites. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So now let's talk about the legend of Moon Festival. There are three main folklore about Moon. 后羿 and Chang'e, 吴刚伐树, Wukong chops a huge cassia tree. 玉兔捣药, the jade rabbit grinds medicine. In Chinese mythology, the sun is symbolized as a three-legged cow called a sunbird. There are 10 of these sunbirds, each of whom are the offsprings of Di Jing, god of the eastern heaven. The 10 sunbirds resided in a mulberry tree in the eastern sea. One would travel around the world on a carriage driven by Xihe, mother of the suns. Eventually, the sunbirds grew tired of the routine and decided that all of them were to rise at the same time. The heat on Earth became intense. As a result, crops shriveled in the fields. Lakes and ponds dried up. Human and non-human animals cowered in shelters or collapsed from exhaustion. Time passed and the suffering continued. Emperor Yao decided to plead for divine intervention and to ask Di Jun for aid. Di Jun was well aware of his son's misdeeds and sent for Hou Yi, the god of archery, to teach his sons a lesson. Di Jun wanted Hou Yi to simply frighten them so that they would not dare to cause mischief again. Hou Yi, too, wanted to settle this crisis peacefully, but a single glance at the scorched land was enough to convince him that desperate measures were needed. Angered by the suffering of the people caused by some birds' misconduct, Hou Yi lifted up his bow and shot them down one by one. Upon killing the ninth, Emperor Yao hurried to halt him, as killing the last one would leave the world in total darkness. Hou Yi later agreed and was hailed as a hero for mankind. But Hou Yi's actions caused him to make enemies in heaven, and as a result, he was punished with divine wrath. In an alternative version, Hou Yi attempted to settle the problem peacefully, but by simply frightening the sunbirds, but approaching the sunbirds and threatening them with the arrows. But the sunbirds laughed at him and said he wouldn't dare shoot them, knowing that their father would not kill them. Angered by these, Hou Yi took aim and shot one of the suns from the sky. Hou Yi realized he had acted out of anger and knew he was in trouble with Di Jun, but reasoned that since he had already begun the task, he might as well finish it and shot the remaining suns out of the sky, one by one. But before he could shoot the last sun, the emperor came to stop him, reminding him the world needed the sun. From that day, the remaining sunbird, now scared by Hou Yi, always did his duty and behaved well, always rising and setting on time. Although Yao was pleased by Hou Yi, Di Jun was not happy. Yi had killed 9 of the sunbirds, 9 of his errant children, instead of merely bringing them to heel as Di Jun wished. As a father, Di Jun could not forgive Yi, so he decided to punish him by banishing the hero from the heavens and stripping him of his immortality. He thought that if Hou Yi cared so much for the mortals, he could live as one. Hou Yi then set off on a series of epic adventures to save China. First, he had to deal with Fabian, Count of the Winds, who created storms that swept across the Middle Kingdom, uprooting crops and tearing down houses. Fabian is a fearsome spirit who generally took the form of a one-eyed bull with the tail of a serpent. He resides in Mount Taishan. Using his power to travel on the wind, he tracked the gales back to the demon's habitat. Noticing that the divine archer was on his way, Fabian had hid in the sack. When Hou Yi entered the mountain's cave, he saw through the demon's subterfuge and fired an arrow at it, which burst the sack right open. Fabian attempted to run, but Hou Yi quickly struck the demon on his knee. Wounded Fabian surrendered and promised not to stir up trouble again. During his crusade, Hou Yi happened to come upon a river that had burst its banks. Hou Yi knew that this must be the doing of a turbulent water god, so he shot an arrow at random into the water. Soon the flood receded and a white-garbed figure on a white horse with several attendants surfaced upon the water. Instantly, Hou Yi attacked him, wounded him in the eye. The god then fled, leaving his companions behind. Next, Hou Yi took aim at the nearest figure, but when he was about to fire, he noticed his target was a harmless girl. He swung his bow so that the arrow whistled harmlessly through her hair. The girl was Chang'e, the daughter of the water god that had fled. Hou, stunned by her unearthly beauty, asked her on the spot to be his wife. Chang'e, with great respect for the hero, accepted the proposal. The next threat Hou had to face was a plague of monsters marauding through the world. Among them was Crystal Tooth, a fearsome giant with a single huge incisor protruding from the top of his mouth, which he used to rend his victim's flesh. In addition, a monstrous water serpent, Si Bashe, was disrupting the calm of Lake Dongtinghu, and the giant Peng bird caused storms merely by flapping its wings. Hou managed to fend off these menaces one after the other. For Hou's service to the human realm, Emperor Yao bestowed on him the title of Marquis Pacifier of the country. Although Hou cared little about being banished from heaven, he couldn't bear the fact that he would one day die and become nothing. Searching for a way to regain his immortality, he traveled to the palace of Xi Wangmu, the Queen Mother of the West, on the Kunlun Shan, seeking her elixir of immortality. The stories of the great hero Hou were known to the goddess, and she took pity on him and agreed to give him the elixir, but with one condition. Knowing that Hou was a skilled architect, she asked him to build her a summer palace in exchange for the immortality drug. He agreed, and for many months he labored and earned it. Before departing, Xi Wangmu warned Hou that the 2 elixirs she had given him were the last of their kinds. Hou planned to spend them on himself and his wife. When Hou returned to his home, he found that Emperor Yao had urgent requests for him, and he made haste to respond. Hou made a vital mistake by not taking the elixir immediately and leaving them unguarded. While Hou was vanquishing humanity's foes, including giant boars, dragons, and other monsters, including the giant Crystal Tooth and a monstrous sea serpent, his wife stayed at home, and for months he had no news. In her boredom, Chang'e found the elixirs that her husband had left behind. Out of curiosity, she drank them both. At this moment, Hou returned and to his surprise found his wife ascending to the moon. Hou heard his wife cries for help and tried to seize her, but she was already beyond his reach. Chang'e would gain immortality and forever lived alone on the moon, with only white air accompanying her. According to some folklore, these rabbits poured the elixir of life for her. In others, particularly Japanese and Korean retellings, the grief of loss of his wife changed Hou completely. He became violent and changed from a hero welcomed by the mortals to being hated as a tyrant. Hou had taught mortals the way of using the bow and had a prized student called Feng Meng. Feng Meng's archery skills had blossomed under Hou's tutelage, and soon he saw himself as worthy of comparison with Hou. One day, Feng Meng challenged him to a shooting contest. Hou easily beat him without convinced Feng Meng that, despite his amazing marksmanship, there was no way he could catch up to his master. Blinded by jealousy, Feng Meng decided to murder his teacher. To him, it was entirely justified, as Hou was no longer an honorable hero, but a tyrant. One day during a hunt, he attacked him. striking him on the back with a club made from the wood of a peach tree. Along with others that were angry at Hou, Fengmeng beat Hou to death. Although these men were to be brought to justice, the epic of Hou finally came to be bitter end. Later, the spirit of Hou ascended to the sun and built a palace. So Chang'e and Hou came to represent the yin and yang, the moon and the sun. Wasn't that a romantic, however sad story? Now let's take a look at Wugang tops a huge cassia tree. If you look carefully at the dark shadows on the full moon, you may be able to see Wugang chopping down a cassia tree. In Chinese mythology, Wugang is portrayed as a woodcutter fascinated with the magic of immortality. Wugang was a shiftless fellow who changed apprenticeship all the time. One day he decided that he wanted to be an immortal. Wugang then went to live in the mountains where he importuned an immortal to teach him. First, the immortal taught him about the herbs used to cure sickness, but after 3 days, his characteristic restlessness returned and he asked the immortal to teach him something else. So the immortal taught him chess. But after a short while, Wugang's enthusiasm again wandered. Then Wugang was given the books of immortality to study. Of course, Wugang became bored within a few days and asked if they could travel to some new and exciting place. Angered with Wugang's impatience, the master banished Wugang to the Moon Palace, telling him that he must cut down a huge cassia tree before he could return to Earth. Though Wugang chopped it day and night, the magical tree restored itself with each blow, and thus he is up there chopping still. Now, the last legend I would like to tell you is the Jade Rabbit Grinds Medicine. In this legend, 3 sages transformed themselves into pitiful old men and begged for something to eat from a fox, a monkey, and a rabbit. The fox and the monkey both had food to give to the old man, but the rabbit, empty-handed, offered his own flesh instead, jumping into a blazing fire to cook himself. The fairies were so touched by it, the rabbit's sacrifices, that they let him live in the Moon Palace, where he became the Jade Rabbit. Now, after the legend we have just learned, next time, if anyone asks you, do you know about the legends of the moon? I'm sure you must know how to answer it. See you. Bye-bye.
Greetings. People celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival by eating mooncakes. Not just that, the Taiwanese like to have barbecues while viewing the moon during the Moon Festival. Before we move on, we should know that there are 6 different verbs regarding dry heat cooking methods: barbecuing, broiling, grilling, baking, roasting, and toasting. When barbecuing, broiling, and grilling refer to cooking the food with open fire, baking and roasting describe cooking the food with oven, and toasting refers to the heat comes from both top and bottom or side to side in the toaster. Therefore, I'm going to just discuss the definition of barbecuing, broiling, and grilling regarding cooking foods with open fire. The word barbecue describes the simple acts of grilling in one's backyard. It also refers to broiling or roasting whole or in large pieces over an open fire on a spit or grill, often seasoning with vinegar, spices, salts, and pepper. First, broiling uses a heat source located above the food to generate intensive heat. In other words, the heat comes from the top to cook the food in order to make it crispy. on the top. Secondly, grilling works in much the same way as broiling. Grilling is to cook the food by generating intensive heat from gas, charcoal, or an electric element. The difference is that with grilling, the heat comes from the bottom to cook the food. To be specific, you heat up the rack intensively and you get to grill the food on the rack. So you're planning a mid-autumn barbecue and you want to find ways to eat healthier. You love everything on the grill, but you've also heard that longer cooking time can cause cancer. So what are you going to do about it? Don't just put your grill aside. Try understand and deal with the potential threats. Colin Doyle, the director of nutrition and physical activity for the American Cancer Society, argued that what we should worry about is two different compounds that can form while you're cooking meats on the grill, and they are both known as carcinogens. Cooking meats at high temperature causes chemicals called HCAs, which stands for heterocyclic amines, and PAH, which stands for polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, to form. When fat drips and burns on the grill, smoke will be generated. As the smoke circulates around the meat, those compounds can accumulate on whatever you're grilling, and eventually you consume it. These carcinogens can cause changes in the DNA that can lead to cancer. According to a University of Minnesota study that tracked the eating habits of more than 62,000 people over a 9-year period, regularly consuming well-done or charred meats may increase your risk of developing pancreatic cancer by up to 60. According to the National Cancer Institute, a diet with higher HCAs can cause an increased risk of breast, colon, liver, skin, lung, prostate, and other cancers. pH-high diets have increased your risk of developing pancreatic cancer by up to 60. According to the National Cancer Institute, a diet with higher HCAs can cause an increased risk of breast, colon, liver, skin, lung, prostate, and other cancers. pH-high diets have been linked to pneumonia, GI, and lung cancer. In a number of ongoing studies on cancer prevention and diets intend to have a better understanding on the effects of these compounds on human cancers. Since there are no guidelines regarding how much consumption of HCAs and PAHs is advisable, according to the NCI. Don't panic. Here's what you can do to stay away from the threat. While grilling meats, poultry, and fish can create these carcinogens, there are some smart steps that can help to protect yourself. The leaner meats, the better. Try to choose leaner meats and trim the fats well before grilling, because there will be less fats to drip onto the hot grill. When fats and juices drip from meats, flames flare up and creates more smoke, which leads to carcinogens formation. A little foil over the grill can be helpful. Covering the grill with perforated foil still allows juices to drop, but it prevents food from smoke and cut back on flame flare-ups, according to Reader Digest. Similarly, do not pierce your meats to see if it's done, since doing so causes more fats to drip and drain from and more smoke to below. Fish and chicken also have lower levels of the amino acid that leads to HCA production. Reader's Digest also echoed that removing the skin from chicken can help reduce the risk as well. According to Nutrition Action Health Letter, flip frequently also helps to reduce HCAs by 75 to 95%. Secondly, cutting back on grill time. Cooking meats for a long time also leads to formation of carcinogens because you are exposing it for a longer time to smoke and flames. Therefore, the shorter the cooking time at high heat, the healthier. Try fish, which cooks a lot quicker than chicken or beef, or make skewer kebab with cubes or meat, which would take less time to be done, which means there's less time for the compound to form. To reduce the exposure to the high heat of the grill, the National Cancer Institute recommends pre-cooking meats in the microwave or oven or on the stove for a few minutes, which eliminates 90% of the HCAs. But you want to make sure to place any partially cooked meats immediately on the grill to protect against bacteria and other food pathogens that cause illness. Thirdly, grill with low heat. If you got enough time, turn your grill to a low heat setting, which makes it harder for heat to burn or char. As long as your meals are meeting suggested minimum cooking temperatures, you can feel a little safer. In addition, to prevent meat from sticking and burning, oil the grill rack. Next, trim away the char. When parts of meal become charred, cut or scrape it off. Plus, scrape down your grill when you're done cooking to get rid of residue with carcinogens that can build up. With a dirty rack, you run the risk of transferring those leftover chemicals to your food next time you grill. Next, marinating meats as a barrier. Marinating meats even just for 30 minutes can reduce formation of HCAs. The types of marinade might even be a factor. As Health.com reported, a number of spices seem to offer particular protection in addition to adding fun flavor, including red pepper, thyme, sage, garlic, and especially rosemary. Next, more veggies. You can still enjoy that grilled flavor you love and reduce your cancer risk by swapping a big portion of meat for veggies, veg burgers, or fruits. All safer choices because HCAs and PAHs form in muscle proteins. Besides, fruits and veggies are rich in phytochemicals that helps combat the carcinogen. Health Day reported. Plus, they only need a short time on the grill to take on that smoky flavor. Next, avoiding processed meats. Processed meats in particular is worth some extra caution. Those hot dogs and sausages you might contemplate grilling have been associated with increased risk of colorectal and pancreatic cancers, as well as an increased risk of dying from cancer or heart disease. According to 2013 research, furthermore, limit the amounts of red meats you eat. including pork, lamb, beef burgers, and steaks, which have also been linked to an increased risk of cancer. I have discussed 7 tips for planning a healthier mid-autumn barbecue. As long as you can reduce your exposure to the potential threats, you may enjoy grilling with no worry. For more information, please refer to the website. Happy barbecuing!
Are you astonished after watching these videos? Have you gained more knowledge after this class? Could Tangyuan be seen or bought in your country? If not, you could go pay a visit to Chinatown and try to your luck. Hope you like the class and learn a lot from it. Congratulations on being a little bit smarter among your friends. Bye.